now, and I think 58 participants have joined already. So they are coming within few minutes. They will join, and you can start, sir.
Thank you, Maiti ji, for the kind introduction. Thank you very much. And first of all, I would like to say that happy Basant Panchami and happy Saraswati Puja. And good morning to everyone. I'm very much thankful to Dr. Maiti for giving me this opportunity today in this the FDP program to deliver a lecture on the related to the sensor, what we are doing and what experience that we have. So we'll be talking about on that particular area, the electrochemical sensors that we'll be discussing today. So I would like to share my slides and then slowly we'll move. I think you can see my slides now. I'll be talking about the electrochemical sensor for trace level detection of arsenic. We are working in this particular area for several years, and we have some joint program also, joint collaboration also, and I got one international projects having almost 3 lakhs of US dollar in that project. It was a joint venture, of course, with the Korean University, as Professor Dr. Maiti he already mentioned. So I'll be moving on that, and before that, I would like to mention that I'm taking the responsibility of the Northeast Science and Technology Center as a director of this center, which is a fully DRDO center. So I can welcome the participant if from the faculties, they can submit the proposals. Tomorrow again, we are going to start one, the workshop. In that we will be evaluating the proposals and all that. So many researchers or the teachers, they will be benefited out of that, the center. So take the maximum use of this center, which we are facilitating for providing the funding and all that through the DRDO. So this is the briefly, I would like to mention that I used to show that with that, if it can encourage the young faculties. So I will be having total citations of almost 3,000, and with the H index is 32 and I10 index is 70 with the Google Citation Index. This paper I would like to share with all of you that it was published in 2012 in Applied Clay Science, almost having the impact of more than 3, almost 4. So this was the top cited article in this Elsevier journal in 2017. And the other paper which was published in Chemical Engineering Journal, that it is again the Elsevier journal. So it is having the impact factor of almost 10. It was the top cited in 2011 and the 12. So, and as Dr. Maiti he already mentioned that I am the editor-in-chief of this UGC CARE listed journal published by the Mizoram University Science and Technology Journal, in which I again welcome you to submit your article for publication, in which Dr. Maiti is helping me a lot as a the editorial board. And Minga, who has not joined, I have not seen him. He is also associating with this journal. So another journal in which is having the impact factor of 1.6, the Environmental Engineering Research. I am the editorial board member of this journal. So before I move, I would like to share what Swami Vivekananda he mentioned. It is very important, very pertinent for the researchers. In a day when you don't come across any problem, you can be sure that you are traveling in a wrong path. What I like to correlate it that I used to tell my students also that when you are moving, in a right direction, definitely you are encountered with the difficulties, with the problems. Whenever the students, they are getting suppressed, they used to say that sir, results is not coming. So I used to say that that is the good sign that you are moving in a right direction. If it is a simple thing, this is not a research. So research is always having some problems. So whenever the problems are coming, that means that you are going in a right direction. What the Swami Vivekananda, he mentioned that. So always be ready for the difficulties or the problems in the research. Then only you will be doing in the, a good research. again, I used to say that when I was doing my research, when I started my career in Banaras Hindu University, so one of the professor, he used to say that the research or you are doing the research. So this is a very big question, that we are doing research or we are doing the research. So I'll say that it is the research that we are trying to do. And if that approach you will be doing, then you will be doing a really a good research. So always what we try to do, that this is a kind of the research, not the research. Okay. And this, from where it comes from the nature. In the nature, there are the many things which are going on which we do not know. So if we try to go, if we are very close to the nature, we will better understand about the different phenomena, and we can do a good research in your particular area. For example, if you see that in your own biosystem, there are a lot of, I will say, the chemical reactors are there. But those chemical reactors, we do not know that how they are functioning. If you try to understand that, that will be a very good research. And you see that, okay, like the molecular machines and all that, the invention of that, for that the Nobel Prize is that they got it. So how they are doing, this is something like, they are trying to know, to understand how this nature is doing. If you try to correlate, then you will be doing really a good research, good piece of the research work. So today we will be talking about the analytical science or analytical chemistry or the analytical methods. Okay. So in that, whenever I used to tell my students that what is the meaning of this, the analytical chemistry or analytical science. So analytical chemistry, it is a very simple way of understanding that it is the separation, identification, and quantitative estimation is nothing but called as the analytical chemistry or analytical science, I will say. Separation, identification, and quantitative determination. Quantitative determination, when we say that, it is the relative term, quantifying in a relative manner. Okay, so quantification of the analytes, that is the analytical chemistry. But you see that how the other scientists, they think from the different background. If you try to see that, what the Albert Einstein, he mentioned that not everything that counts can be counted, and not everything that can be counted counts. We cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them. This is the Einstein, what he thinks over that. But if you see that the Kenichi Ohmae, how he described the analytical science or the analytical chemistry, that he mentioned that, okay, analysis is the critical starting point of strategic thinking. He's an economist. His view is different, but ultimately what they want to say that, okay, analysis is an important aspect that is always involved. Okay, so developing the new analytical tool, you have to see that whenever you are thinking the analytical tool or the analytical method that you are going to introduce, whether the sensor or whatever you are going to do, it has to address the two different aspects. The one aspect, that is the qualitative estimation, the other aspect is the quantitative, quantifying it. Okay, qualitative and quantitative, it is a simple term, I think each and everyone can understand. Qualitatively, you have to identify whether the particular analyte is there or not, and then later aspect is that the quantifying. Unless until these two aspects are addressed, okay, analytical method is not that useful. So analytical method, when it is more useful, when you can validate it in terms of the what you say, that the qualitative aspect and the quantitative aspects. So this is the in the electrochemical sensor which we are going to discuss today. So very recently, I have published the book chapter, that is the advanced materials in the detection of arsenic from aquatic environment, advancements in electrochemical sensors. So this is recently, it is accepted, and soon it will be coming online. So it is in the Springer. And very recently, last year, lockdown was there. So I tried to write one review paper. So this review paper is published, almost the 4 impact factor is the Journal of the Electroanalytical Chemistry. So this role of nanocomposite materials in the development of electrochemical sensors for arsenic as past, present, and future. So these are the two, very recently I published the one book chapter and the one review article in this particular area, which we are talking today. So in addition to what the different areas, what we are covering, we are doing and all. So this is the overview. I would like to share with you what the people are doing and what is the, the electrochemical sensors in this particular area, the chronological. You can try to see that what the things are going on. Here, the overview I try to share with you. You see, this is the electrochemical system that will be having the 3 different electrodes. Any electrochemical sensors, okay, any electrochemical methods, it is having the electrodes and all that. And as usual, the simplest way to understand it is having a one auxiliary electrode and the one working electrode. Working electrode, and on the working electrode, we used to apply the potential. So that is one reference electrode is required. With reference to that electrode, we used to apply the potential. This is the V that we are applying here, that potential. And this is the working electrode, and here is the auxiliary electrode. So this, what the research is going on at present, what they are doing to modify this, the working electrode, the surface of the working electrode. So this modification of the surface of the working electrode, it is based on the different methods or the different materials, I will say. So different materials, I try to see that. So here you see that the different materials has been used, and why they are changing. The intention is that there are the 2 intentions. One is that the detection limit, what is required, the detection limit up to that level, whether it can be detected. The second thing is that the selectivity of that surface or the working electrodes, okay, which can, okay, which can be a good selective, show the selectivity for a particular analyte. Say if you are looking for the arsenic, or if you are looking for the micropollutants, or if you are looking for any other heavy metal. So this is the simple arrangement of that. And here you can see on the right hand side the different, the different materials which has been used. For example, the gold nanoparticles, or for example, the cerium oxide or the zirconium oxide, or the carbon nanotubes and all that. So these are this. And then through this potentiostat by which you are applying the potential and all that, the signals that you will be getting here, and this signal, it can be displayed here, and with the help of this, the output data, that you will be getting the results. And based on this simple arrangement, we used to develop the sensor, which we have done. Of course, I will show you. So the content of my presentation at the moment is that the motivation, by what was the motive doing in particular area, and then a brief introduction that I will be introducing here. And now I will be confining myself what we have done, okay, in a very simpler term. I will try to explain here. And then the introduction part that I will try to introduce with the hybrid materials. I will not go, we have done a lot of work in this particular area, but I will be confining on a certain, the materials and all that. And then the electrochemical sensor, the basics of the electrochemical sensors, then function of the cyclic voltammetry, which we have used, the analytical tool, and then electrochemical behavior of the modified carbon paste electrode that we have fabricated in our lab. And then the results and discussion part I will try to do based on certain hybrid materials, the arsenic system, arsenic 3, arsenic 5. As we know that the arsenic is having the 2 different oxidation states, the arsenic 3 or arsenic 5, and then the reduced arsenic 5 system also that we have done. And then cadmium, we did it, okay, very briefly, I'll discuss this. And then arsenic 3, the recent study that I will try to include. Recent means that it is 1.5 years before. Recent study I am not going to share right now, and followed by the conclusions and all. So this, the motivation, what has happened, this arsenic. So what is arsenic? Arsenic is the elemental arsenic is a naturally occurring silver gray solid metalloid. The element 0 valence, elemental arsenic, okay, is from the elemental 0 valence form, which rarely exists in nature. It's not in the nature, you won't get arsenic. Always you will be getting in the nature in the metalloid form. Metalloid, that means that the oxygen atoms are also attached with the arsenic, okay, has low solubility in, is seldom a cause of human toxicity. That means that it's talking about the elemental the arsenic. Now you see that the arsenic poisoning. So what happened in the year 1996, when an article was published in Science, India's spreading health crisis draws global arsenic experts. So this is the article which was published way back in 1996. Deadly trial. 7 districts in West Bengal have been hit hard by arsenic poisoning from tube wells along the Indian-Bangladesh border. Okay, which the figures you can see that, okay, how this is going to affect, okay, keratosis that is taking place, the skin of this, okay, you can see that how it is going to affect. So this is the part of this West Bengal badly affected with the arsenic contamination. So this is, although we are having a lot of the advanced analytical tools by which the arsenic can be detected even at a very low level, but the thing is that you cannot take that sophisticated, for example, if you are using the ICP-MS, you cannot take ICP-MS to that rural point where they are taking the water and you cannot detect the arsenic in that place. You have to take, means that it is not, on-site detection is not that feasible using this ICP-MS or that advanced techniques. So you have to use a small or the versatile, or you can say that a very handy instrument by which you can detect the arsenic at that low level. Though that low level means that the maximum contamination level which has been described by the EPA, okay, the Environmental Protection Agency USA, that is the 10 microgram per liter, or that is nothing but it is equal to almost equal to 10 ppb level. At that level you have to detect the arsenic. Your device has to be that efficient to detect the arsenic up to that level. So now you see what is the arsenic, okay, what are the sources of this arsenic. There are the anthropogenic sources, or the or the natural sources are there. Natural sources, you can see that volcanoes and all that. With that, the arsenic is coming into the atmosphere. From that atmosphere, with the rain and all that, the arsenic that will be coming into the water bodies and all that. Or there are the man-made sources also, like the fertilizers and all that. Okay, that is also being used. Arsenic they are using. So from here you can see that the forest and the forest fires and all that, grass fires and all that, okay, by which they are taking some arsenic, and then okay, it comes into the atmosphere. From that atmosphere, this is a kind of, you can say, the pathway of the arsenic which is which can be shown here, okay, which is shown here. So here is the available arsenic, and that through this spring water and all that, it comes again into the water bodies and all. So it comes into the atmosphere, it comes into the water bodies and all that, and then the intake by the human, and that is causing the arsenic problem and all. Similarly, you see that the cadmium, very briefly I will be describing it here. The cadmium, of course, it is very toxic and all that. We have heard about in 1940s that epidemic, okay, in Japan, having this thyroid disease and all. Okay, so dangerous level of cadmium are reportedly being used in children's jewelry imported from China. It is a very shiny, so that's why a lot of jewelry, the children jewelry that is made by the cadmium, and that is causing the the cadmium that enters, okay, and causing the cadmium toxicity and all that. So what cadmium, it is nothing but a soft whitish metal, occurs naturally in soil. Why is that known as to cause cancer? Whether it is the arsenic is also carcinogenic, and then whether it is the cadmium, the carcinogenic, okay, can hinder brain development in young children. So this is a brief. You can see that what was happened, effluent outflow from in Japan. Processing plant washed over adjacent rice paddies for many years. Rice accumulated high level of cadmium. Community was poor and therefore malnourished with respect to the calcium. What happens, it is going to replace this calcium by the cadmium, and cadmium toxicity that take place. So acute toxicity, renal failure, anemia, and all that takes place. Okay, so cadmium was used, if you recall, if you try to see that, if 5-6 years back, or maybe 6-7 years back, McDonald was using this kind of the glasses. These are called as the Shrek glasses. These Shrek glasses are contained with the cadmium. So this nowadays it is completely banned. Okay, so this is also containing the cadmium and all. The other sources has been sold there. Now this is the EPA data that I will be sharing with you here. The arsenic contamination, what is the EPA maximum contamination level that has been given, along with this MCLG, that is the maximum contaminant level goal that has been given, okay, MCLG or the MCL. So you can see here for this arsenic, it is the 10 ppb, that is the 10 microgram per liter, okay, or the cadmium which is having 5 microgram per liter. But nowadays this is, they don't want, even when I was in Japan, they were saying that the cadmium should not be, even at the trace level, should not be in the water and all. So this is the thing that, okay, arsenic and the cadmium, the level which is suggested by the EPA. So now what we try to do, we started working on the materials to develop, but we were interested with the natural materials. So natural materials like the clay materials, we try to use the clay material. So what are the clay materials? Clay materials, if you try to see one of the review paper which I have published, which was the top cited, there I have mentioned in detail about the clay materials, what will the structure, how it is, how one can modify the structure of the clay materials, and can be used for for a lot of different purposes. So clay materials, of course, it is a very porous material. You can see that the porosity is there. Porosity, it is having the the layered structure. The layering is coming with the help of this, the tetrahedral silicates, or the SiO4, and the octahedral aluminate, that is forming the stacks on the and then in between that there is a exchangeable region, or the interplane is there. Okay, within that there is a exchangeable cations. So this exchangeable cations are compensating the total charge which has been formed by this. Okay, that is being this is the that is being compensated by the exchangeable cations, and here the water molecule is there. So what the strategy that we are having, we are trying to exchange the exchangeable cations with the different molecules which are more selective, which are more having, or you can say that you can functionalize also. Within that you can introduce some kind of the functional group containing the compounds. So organic compounds we try to introduce, because the clay materials, it is a good porous material. Of course, it is a very useful material for the removing the lot of heavy metals and all that. But when we talk about the micropollutants, or when we talk about the anionic species, anionic ions, then it is not that efficient. So in that case, when we modify the clay materials, then these clay materials are more helpful, more useful. Okay, so you see that based on this exchangeable cations here, these are the lighter cations. Okay, the size of these ions are very, very low. When we introduce a bigger ion here, so what happens, this interlayer is going to prop up. So the propping of the interlayer also can be done with the help of introducing the bigger ions and all that. So this is our strategy, to introduce here the bigger, either the organic molecule or the bigger and cations also. So this is the strategy of our work that we try to do here. So when we are introducing the organic moiety or the organic compound here, so what happens, this is going to be more organophilic. If it is going to be organophilic, means that organic compound loving. So what happens then, if we are introducing this molecule, this the solid or this material, then it can remove very efficiently the micropollutants, which is a great the potential threat. I will say that the micropollutants, they are not completely degraded in the water bodies, that can be removed. That is a different area which we are doing a lot of publications that we have done. So our intention is that these kind of the materials, will it be useful for the sensor purpose and all that. So this is the strategy that we try to adopt here. So here what happened, you can see that the different molecules, the surfactant type of the molecule initially we selected, say for example SDTMA and all that similar type of the molecule, you can see the long chain compounds are there. On the other hand, of course, it is the hydrophobic end is there. This is the hydrophilic end is there, and hydrophobic end is here, or organophilic end is here. This is a long chain compound that we try to introduce here. Within that, the interlayer, and this interlayer, the exchangeable cations, based on this, you have the value of the cation exchange capacity, CEC value, which is a very important quantity of any clay. So CEC, based on the CEC, that much amount of the the ions or the molecule you can introduce within that interspace or interlayer. So now you see, this is the molecule we try to introduce. this is the structure of this A, B, C, D. I have given that 4 different structures is possible. This is the interlayer one. So if the flat molecule, okay, this long molecule you have introduced in a flat manner, this is, okay, we call it the lateral monolayer, which is not much useful. Okay, it's not going to be much useful. In the here you can see that the bilateral layer is there, but the bilayers are there. So this is also not, slightly it is propped up, but it is not that much useful. But you see this structure, paraffin type of the structure, if you will be getting the paraffin type of the structure, then it is going to be much more useful. And then this is the bilayer type of the paraffin structure. You can ask that there may be a possibility of the third layer also you can introduce here. Okay, it's a bilayer, you can make it a tri-layer, but tri-layer may not be that stable. This is going to be, okay, collapsed. And then again, you will be getting the structure similar like A or the B. So that's why the cation exchange capacity is very useful. So based on the cation exchange capacity, maximum 1:1 or 1:2 maximum, you can introduce the cations or the other organic molecule, okay, within that, the interlayer. So this is the materials that we try to do. One is the cerussite, the other one is the bentonite, then third is the local clay. Cerussite, it is locally available in Korea that we have collected. Cerussite, I will tell you, this is a more mica is there, and for the, I will say that in our university itself, we have introduced minimum 50 or 60 products, more than 60 products that we have, you know, and the more than 50, 60 startups, I will say that using this cerussite itself, we have done it. Lot of the, you know, the products that we have made it based on the cerussite. For example, the pack and all that, the cosmetics and all that, is a lot of things has been done. But in addition to that, there are the many things which we have developed based on this cerussite. If, and sometimes in some other lecture we will discuss about how this cerussite is useful in you know, directly you can use it for the different things to make it. This is the bentonite which we have collected from the Gujarat, and this is the local clay. You see, our local people also, they are using this local clay for the pack and all that they are making on the face and all, they are putting on the face and all, they're using as a pack and all. Okay, so this local clay that we have collected locally. So now you see that CC, the cation exchange capacity of this cerussite is 8.85 milliequivalents per 100 gram, and the bentonite is having 69.35, and this, the local clay, is 46.38. Okay, so now here you see the local clay and the bentonite is having more cation exchange capacity, and you have a more chance of introducing the organic or the other molecule within this interlayer, because this cation exchange capacity is much higher comparing to the even the cerussite. Okay, cerussite is more mica is there, that's why the cation exchange capacity is a more compact, I will say. It's a more compact layers are there. It is, if more withering is taking place, then naturally it is more, you know, propped up and all that. So now here, the different types of the organic molecule that we have introduced, okay, alkyl dimethyl benzyl ammonium chloride, or the hexadecyl trimethyl ammonium bromide. Or sometimes what we do for using these molecules, you can see that it's a long chain compound. Okay, this is also a long chain compound. We are introducing this long chain compound within this interlayer. And sometimes what we do, first we pillar it. You can pillar, you introduce this aluminum ions first. This is a much bigger ion comparing to this potassium and that exchangeable ions. And then, okay, organic molecule that we will be introducing here. So based on this, we will be getting the hybrid materials. Okay, hybrid materials, we call it the organo or inorgano organo modified clay materials. And these materials are, we used to characterize this by the FTIR, XRD, or the SEM method. So these are the some of the results that we will be getting, the SEM images of the materials. This is the pristine clay, and these are the modified clay. You can see that it is getting more porous and all that, and it is getting more, okay. Sometimes you can see very fine particles on the surface and all that. That will be, okay, the organic molecule that has been introduced. This paper was published already in Chemical Engineering Journal, as I mentioned. It is the impact right now. The impact is around 10. And this is the XRD data, which has been, you know, which has been analyzed. The XRD data, these XRD data is showing that the two clay materials, the clays, bentonite and the local clay, having this quartz content around 43.71, This local clay is having more quartz comparing to the bentonite, as I mentioned. It is 79.35. Smectite is 23 and 6.20. Okay, kyanite is 1.73, 0.45. Illite is 31.39 and 14.01. So this is the illite content is more with this, the bentonite. Based on this, the heavy metal, the removal capacity is more for the heavy metals, but it is having less because this quartz content, of course, it is more. Quartz is not that good for the removing the, what our experience is that quartz is not that good for this removing the heavy metals and all. So anyway, this is the IR data that we got it. The additional peak you can see in this, the modified materials. This is the peak is, centered around 2,920 and 2,856 centimeter inverse are considered to be the CH stretching vibrations and CH scissoring bands. Okay, that confirms that the organic molecule is being successfully introduced within that the clay materials. So our intention was that whether it is successfully introduced or not introduced. Okay, that was confirmed by the XRD, IR data also. These are the, the specific surface area of using this BET of these material. This is the bentonite, the pristine bentonite. It was having the, pore size and the pore volume also that has been measured here, 80.86. Now, of course, the surface area, of course, it is decreased because you have introduced more the organic molecule or the more the other cations. So local clay is having 2.94 specific surface area, but in this case it was increased, okay, specific surface area. The point of the zero charge, which is a very important quantity, the very important physical quantity, that point of zero charge, that means that above to that the surface is the negatively charged, below to that pH the surface is the positively charged. Now you see that bentonite is having the point of zero charge as 10, and then when you have modified it, say BH means that hexadecyl, okay, HDTMA has been introduced with the bentonite. So then the pH, the PZC has decreased to 8.2. When you have pillared it with the aluminum and then organic molecule is being introduced, HDTMA, the PZC is now 6.1. Local clay was having 5.8, 5.1 and 5.1. That means that you can see here this 6.1, which is close to the neutral pH. So this, the material is more useful. You can use it, okay, around the neutral pH, okay, for the different purposes. This is the X-ray fluorescence data by which we have estimated the oxides, what are the percentage composition of the different oxides. So different oxides we try to, for the bentonite as well as for the local clay, you can see that the different values are given here. Mostly it is the aluminate and silicate. So alumina and silica, it is very high content is there, and then some iron is there, okay, that you can see there, and some titanium oxide is there. So this is a tree diagram, okay, which is recently, which I published in our book chapter. So classification tree for various electrochemical methods for the detection of the heavy metal ions. So this is the electrochemical methods, okay. If you try to see the tree diagram, with this tree diagram, there are the two different types of the electrochemical methods in general, I will say. One is the interfacial method, other one is the bulk methods. So bulk methods, again, you can divide it into the two parts. One is called as the conductometry, and the second is that the conductometric titration, simple the conductivity bridge that we are using, okay, based on that. The interfacial methods, again, there are the two different ways by which we used to operate. The one is called as the static method. The other one is known as the dynamic method. So in the static method, say you might have seen this, the potentiometry or the potentiometric titration. These are the static method when J is equal to 0. The dynamic methods, in which here lot of the studies that we used to do, okay, here there are the controlled potential method, or the controlled current method, or the constant current, okay. So based on that, there are the controlled current method, the galvanostatic, impedance measurements, okay, voltammetric, cyclic AC, voltammetry, EIS, okay, electrochemical luminescence and all. And when we talk about this controlled potential, in this amperometry is there. Initially when I started work, okay, in PhD, some of the amperometry that time we have done. Then the voltammetry, Okay, and then when we talk about the volt, and then the coulometry is there. Voltammetry, there are the pulse voltammetry, polarography, the stripping voltammetry, okay, hydrodynamic, based on the hydrodynamic properties, say for example, rotating disc electrodes and all that, that will be done in this, the hydrodynamic way. Okay, and then cyclic voltammetry or the linear potential polarography or the DC polarography. Here, pulse voltammetry, again, there are the different ways by which we used to do that, pulse voltammetry and polarography. Normal pulse voltammetry, okay, staircase voltammetry, reverse pulse and all that. And the stripping voltammetry, it's with the anodic stripping or the cathodic stripping. So this, the anodic and the cathodic, along with the, the cyclic voltammetry that we used to do for our experiments. So what are the electrochemical electrosensors? Electrosensors, in a simple term, okay, you can define it as chemical sensors is a small device which could be obtained by a chemical interaction or process that take place between analyte and the sensor material, transformed chemical or biochemical information of a quantitative or qualitative type. As initially I mentioned, qualitative and quantitative is the most important when you are thinking to develop a sensor. So qualitative type into an analytically useful signal. Electrochemical sensors are one of the most attractive sensors because of its sensitivity, experimental simplicity, and probably cost effectiveness. The signal from the transducer can be a current, amperometry, or a voltage, potentiometry, or impedance, conductance changes, conductometry, etc., which I have shown in the tree diagram also. So this, the cyclic voltammetry, it is nothing but the quantitative determination of cyclic voltammetry. It is can be used for the both the purposes, okay, but it's qualitative as well as the quantitative determination of organic and inorganic compounds in aqueous and non-aqueous solutions. And you see, the electrochemical sensors, this is useful when oxidation and reduction is taking place. Okay, if it is not oxidizing, then it cannot be, cannot be detected and all that. So measurement of kinetic rates and constants, determination of adsorption processes on surfaces, determination electron transference, kind of the applications and reaction mechanisms, determination of thermodynamic properties of solvated species, fundamental studies of oxidation and reduction processes in various media, determination of complexation and coordination values and all. Okay. So this CV, it is having some limitations as well, as I mentioned initially. So the limitations are substance must be oxidizable or reducible in the range where the solvent and electrode are electrochemically inert. Provides very little or no information on a species identity. Sample must be dissolved. So you have to do the analysis. You have to dissolve the sample. Accuracy varies with 1 to 10%. Sensitivity and detection limit, it depends. Okay, voltammetric techniques are there. Detection limit varies with technique from parts per 1,000 to parts per million. Okay, so what we used to do, this is the current, and the current is a quantitative measure. Okay, how this current is measured and all that. Current measurement that we used to do. The current measure is a quantitative measure of how fast a species is being reduced or oxidized at the electrode. Electrode, that means that the working electrode. The actual value of this current is affected by many additional factors. Most importantly, the concentration of the redox species. Okay, the size, shape, and material of the electrode. So what we are trying to do here, we are trying to do the material of the electrode. Okay, this oxidation and reduction, how it is efficient and all, it depends on what the material of the electrode you are using. So we are trying to use, that's why we are trying to modify the surface of the electrode, okay, with the suitable material. The solution resistance, that is an important quantity, the cell volume, and the number of electrons that is transferred. This is a very simple way to understand. You see, this is a kind of the polarigram that we will be getting when you are applying this potential. This is in a dynamic manner. Okay, so current, how it is going to change, you can see that the current is changing like that, and then it reaches to almost a constant value. And this constant value, it depends on the concentration of the analyte. So this is called as the limiting current. Suppose this is the, the reduction A plus Ne giving you the P. So this reduction, okay, the reduction, what happens? There is an adjacent to the electrode, there is a formation of the depleted layer. So this depleted layer, what is the thickness of this depleted layer? That also it depends on the limiting current and all. So in a general way, this IL, which is a limiting current, I will say this IL is equal to K into C0. K is nothing but a constant. I will say it is a constant. So this K is nothing but dNF by X. What is D? D is the diffusion coefficient, diffusion through that depleted layer. You remember that whenever the octave polarization and the concentration polarization is followed by the concentration polarization is taking place on the electrode surface, say silver is there, silver is taking the electrons from, okay, on the electrode and then getting reduced and deposited on the electrode surface. Okay, silver ions are deposited on, so on the vicinity of the electrode there is a formation of the depleted layer, because all these silver ions are moved towards the electrode and forming a depleted layer. So through that depleted layer, how these ions are moving towards the electrode, they have to diffuse through that layer. So that depends on the diffusion, okay, D, diffusion coefficient, D. N is the number of the electrons involved, F is the Faraday constant, and X is the, you know, which I mentioned, that the depleted layer, the thickness of the depleted layer, that depends. So when after some time, what happens, this is a kind of this, that the X value is not going to change much. So the X also you can take as constant. So here, which is a very important thing, you can see here, IL, which is a limiting current is directly proportional to the concentration of the analyte which you are going to analyze. So with this basic equation, IL is directly proportional to C0. You can develop a technique based on this basic phenomena, okay, because concentration of the analyte is directly proportional to the current, okay. Then you can develop a device. And as initially I mentioned, any analytical technique when you are developing, or any analytical technique, unless until it addresses the two aspects, one is the qualitative, the other one is the quantitative. So quantitative aspects, it is C0 is directly proportional with the limiting current. What about the qualitative? Qualitative is this, you can see here, this is called as the half-wave potential, okay. So this half-wave potential, it is, I will say, the characteristic value of that particular analyte. Say silver is there, so for that silver or iron is there, so this half value is a characteristic value, okay, is a signature value. Then you can say that this particular analyte is present there. So based on this, to the two aspects it can address, one is the quantitative, other one is the qualitative, okay. So this electrochemical method is useful for the analytical, to developing for the analytical methods, okay. So now this is the cyclic voltammogram that we use to get it. You are applying this with as a function of the time, we are applying the potential in a sawtooth manner, I will say. You see, this is the simple arrangement which I have discussed initially also, okay. In a sawtooth manner we used to apply, this is called as the scanning, excitation of the electrode, okay. This is also called as the scanning. You are scanning it, okay. You are applying the potential in a certain time intervals. So now you see, this way you will be applying, and then the cyclic voltammogram that you will be getting, and this is the, this is the EPC, okay, or you can say this, the limiting current will be here, okay, this value will be the limiting current. So this limiting current, based on this limiting current, this is the complete cyclic voltammogram that you will be getting, or CV that you will be getting here. So what we have done now, you try to see that, okay. Here, this is the simple arrangement which I have discussed here. This is a supporting electrode, this is a reference electrode, this is a working electrode. This working electrode we used to fabricate it. So this, how did we fabricate it? We have fabricated using our own materials, okay. This is our own material. This is the paraffin oil by which we are making the paste, and carbon powder that we have used it. So carbon powder, naturally also we can develop in our, we can get it in the lab itself, or you can purchase it. So carbon powder that we have taken along with the paraffin oil and our material, and then we have made a good paste, and this paste has been filled in this, okay. This is a Teflon tube. In this Teflon tube we have introduced, okay, nicely, so that, and then we have introduced the titanium wire here. This is a titanium wire which has been inserted up to here. so that it can make a good connectivity, the electrical connectivity, and this can be connected to this through, this is our instrument that we are having, cyclic voltammeter, okay, or EIS system that we are having in our lab. With this, we are connecting here, okay, and then we will be getting the data. And this is the electrochemical cell that we are having. So here, all the three electrodes, one is the reference electrode, and one is the auxiliary electrode, and the working electrode that we have fabricated. Now we try to get the results. Okay. Now you see this is a standard system. A standard system, that means whenever in electrochemistry we say the standard system, it is nothing but the iron system, Fe2 plus and Fe3 plus. So here the different materials we have used. This is the bentonite. Okay, pristine bentonite. This is the local clay, pristine local clay. Now you see that the different voltammograms, okay, cyclic voltammograms that we will be getting. The interesting thing is that the current, the peak current that you will be getting here, it is going to increase when you are modifying the materials. So now you here, if it was the peak is somewhere around 0.14, now it has reached to more than 0.18, and in this case it has reached almost 0.4. That means that the electroactive surface area is going to increase significantly, or electrochemical signals are increased significantly. Okay, so if the electrochemical signals are increased, that means that the detection limit that you will be getting up to much lower limit. Okay, so that is the advantage of this. Using this Randall and Savick equation, where IM is the current which has been measured, okay, and nu half, which is a scan rate. Okay, so if I plot this scan rate against this IM, rest of the quantities are constant except this A. C is the concentration, constant concentration that we have taken. D is the diffusion coefficient of this iron. Okay, that standard value that we have introduced. So from here, A can be calculated. This is a slope of that. Okay, so A was calculated. Now you see that is the electroactive surface area. Okay, so surface area, you can see that it has been increased. In the case of LCAH, this material is showing much higher. Okay, almost 2 to 3 times higher than when you are using the pristine clay. So a very high electroactive surface area that you will be getting using the modified material. That means that, okay, the detection limit that you will be getting much better, much lower than using simple the electrodes. This is the arsenic 3 system that we try to do. How this arsenic is taking place, the oxidation and reduction. There are the different peaks will be coming. Oxidant, the 3 electron, okay, the change that has been shown here. So now this is the scan rate studies that we have done for the arsenic itself, and this from that we try to calculate the electroactive surface area that has not shown here. This is the pH dependence studies at different pH. We try to get the results for particularly for the arsenic. We have seen that a very high signal that we will be getting at very low pH. So most of the studies people they are doing at the very low pH values. Low pH value, very high, you know, the peak current we will be getting, or very good signal that we will be getting at very low pH values. Okay, so here arsenic 3 that has been done, okay, at low pH, the very high signal that we will be getting here. This figure is showing that. And here the calibration line that we obtained, we have increased the concentration of the arsenic 3, okay, from very low value to from 1 microgram per liter or 1 ppb to the 40 ppb, a good correlation line that we will be getting. Based on this, the LOD, limit of detection, which is the 3 times from the background the signals. So that is equal to that we will be getting around 4.47. As I initially mentioned, the EPL limit is 10 ppb, but now we will be getting 4.47. This is the detection limit, okay, which is much lower than the permissible level of the arsenic. So an LOQ, limit of the quantification, is okay, which is 10 times of this. So of SD by M, so 14.47. And the other existing ions, what we have observed that most of the ions are not affecting, but some of the ions, for example, iron has affected. Copper was giving some problem. Okay, copper is giving because the peaks are coming almost in the same region. Okay, the oxidation reduction peak, especially for arsenic 3 and the copper. That's why many studies also that we have observed that the copper is interfering there. So this is the sensory studies which was published in Environmental Engineering Research. Okay, so this was the data that we obtained for arsenic 5. The problem is that with arsenic 5 is not that good electrochemically. Okay, it's not being reduced. why many reports that we have seen that arsenic 5 directly is not measured. They try to do it with the, initially they reduce it using this some kind of the chemicals, and then they are trying to detect that arsenic 3. So but we try to do with the arsenic 5 directly using these materials, and we got quite good results having this LOD 3.13. So what we have done, the other system that we tried to do, arsenic 5, this was published in the Journal of Electroanalytical Chemistry. Okay, we reduced the arsenic by chemically. Okay, so by using this sodium thionite, with that sodium dithionite, we have reduced the arsenic 5 to arsenic 3, and then we try to do the detection of this arsenic 3. Slightly, it is a different type of the results that we will be getting. You see, there is no the peak in this side. Okay, the oxidation peak we are not getting, but of course this lower side you can see that the reduction peak that we will be getting. And this is the different types of the materials: the bentonite, the clay, the carbon paste electrode, simple carbon paste electrode. Then carbon paste electrode is modified with the pristine bentonite, pristine local clay, and then you see that the organically modified hybrid material, okay, for the bentonite and for the local clay, and then local clay is pillared with the aluminum and then again organically modified it. So these are this clay material, okay, this modified material is giving you very high signals. So then we try to do, okay, the other studies, the pH studies that we have done with the using the different, the materials modified. And this is the concentration dependence data that we obtained. We are increasing the concentration of arsenic 5, okay, using this BCH or LCAH, okay, a good correlation that we will be getting here. And then we try to calculate the LOD, limit of detection. So limit of detection was, we are getting here 2.214 and limit for this BCH, but now you see LCAH is giving us the limit of detection, which is much lower. Comparing to this, it is almost, okay, 1.4, much lower than that. So then the presence of the different coexisting ions, we try to do it, okay, and we will be getting the data: cadmium, lead, copper and all. Again here the copper was interfering and all. And we try to do with the real matrix sample. Real matrix samples, that means that we have taken the simple tap water and we analyze the tap water, what is present there. We have observed that the inorganic carbon is very high here, okay, and calcium content is very high. That means that calcium carbonates and all that is being formed, because organic carbon is very low. Yeah, inorganic carbon is there, means that carbonates and all that, it is there. So in that we try to see that whether the method is okay, which using this method can we apply it. So what we have observed, that very good correlation line that we will be getting. If you see that the R square values are very 0.98, 0.97, 0.96 like that. So means that very good correlation was obtained, whether we have used the organically modified bentonite or the local clay or inorgano, okay, organo, the hybrid material LCAH, okay, we will be getting very good correlation. So this was the data for using for the in which this was published in electroanalytical chemistry, okay, and in this you can see that, okay, very good for the real matrix sample also the method is applicable. Now we try to do some of the cadmium-2 system. Okay, this data was published in International Journal of Environmental Analytical Chemistry 2016. Here we are not getting that sharp peaks, but even then some peaks are coming. So what we have observed, that cadmium, the 2 electron system, okay, that is taking place, and the different materials we try to use it, okay, and different pH also we try to do. You can see that the pH 4 and pH 10 are good. At around pH 4, very good signal that we will be getting for the cadmium. So we have conducted the most of the studies in this at that particular pH. And here the the calibration line, you can see that a very good calibration line has been observed when we have varied the concentration of the cadmium from 5 to the 40 ppb level. And then with this, with the help of this, we try to calculate the LOD and the LOQ value. LOD was obtained 1.68, 1.54 and 1.36. These are the modified materials only. Okay, so very low LOD value that we have obtained for this, the cadmium-2. These are the some of the data that we obtained for the different materials. how they are, the other ions are interfering. So coexisting ions are interfering or not, that we try to see. In this case, most of the ions are not affecting, but you see in the case of the manganese, very high signal was observed. That is maybe at the almost the same potential. The manganese is also going to get, getting reduced or oxidized. So based on, because of that, it is going to interfere. This also we try to see in the real matrix sample. Real matrix sample, again, we have obtained a very good the linearity, okay, in the very good correlation we obtained. So this is the some of the, I will not say that this is the present work. It was already published in 2019, and 2020 and to this year, we have done much more advanced things, okay, which I'm not going to share because we have not published that one. So this was the arsenic 3, that data that we obtained. We have used this bentonite, okay, the material which has been, this has been modified with the trichlorooctadecyl silane. Okay, so this was with this we have modified the material. It is in the inert atmosphere, nitrogen atmosphere. We have done, this is the modified bentonite that we obtained. And recently we are working on this. Lot of data also we have collected, and it's a very good detection limit and all we will be getting. So silver or the gold, we are trying silver and the gold. The naturally using this the plant extracts, we are trying to get the silver or the gold nanoparticles. This is the silver nanoparticles, okay, using this plant extracts and all. This is all identified and all, same time many things that we have done. So anyway, that is not silver and gold. We have that data I'm not going to show here. This is the material which I have shown here, the modified bentonite with this TCODS, trichlorooctadecyl silane. With that, this material we obtained, the same images of this material we have obtained. You can see that here the organic molecule are clearly visible here, and this is the EDX data that we obtained. With that also we try to confirm, and then the IR data also we try to confirm. Here you can see that the additional peaks are coming, that confirms the organic molecule has been introduced with this IR data. What is the D value for the 001? The D value for this, the bentonite was 1.499 nanometers, which has been slightly increased to 1.56. Okay, 1.563 nanometers. Okay, we obtained for this for the modified material using this XRD data. And this is the fabrication of the electrode that we have done with the help of the material. Here is the material. You can see here, this is the carbon powder. This is the organically modified the bentonite. Now you, along with the paraffin oil, we have prepared the paste. Nowadays we are, we are not using this paste-based method. Now what we are doing with the glassy carbon electrode, okay, or the some screen printed electrode, or the some the disc, using this simple some kind of the polymeric material on that, the disc we are preparing. That these are the newer the technologies that we are trying to introduce here. But this is the old one. So the carbon paste electrode using this Teflon tube. So here we have packed it. Here you can see here one the titanium wire that has been introduced, and then this is the electrochemical cell. Here we are introducing, and this is our solution and all. What is the anodide solution? And then it is connected with this our cyclic voltmeter, or you can say that EIS system. With that, we will be getting the results. So electrochemical studies that we have conducted in the carbon powder, this is the material, and then the scan rate studies that we have done with the standard solutions like iron, Fe2 and Fe3. And Randall's and Savick equation, with that we try to calculate, as I mentioned previously, the electroactive surface area. pH studies we have done, concentration studies, interfering ions and all that we have done. This is the arrangement of the electrodes: counter electrode, working electrode, reference electrode. As working electrode is the modified electrode we have. And electroactive surface area, we try to see that it has been increased when we try to see electroactive surface area, which has been done, okay, with this Randall-Savick equation by the scan rate studies. So what we will be getting, it will be, carbon paste electrode, it is 2.44 10 to the power minus of 2. Okay, carbon plus bentonite, it is 5. It has increased. When we have taken this nanocomposite, it has you can see that 5 times, okay, almost the 5 times the electroactive surface area has been increased. So this is the, this is our intention, that to increase the active surface area. Once it is increased, definitely the LOD we will be getting much lower. We'll try to see that how much the LOD that will be coming. So this is the carbon paste electrode that we will be getting the data with the scan rate by which the electroactive surface area was calculated. This is the line, okay, for the Seebeck equation. This is the pristine bentonite that is done, okay. Modified bentonite, you can see that the value of this current is much increased. It is almost 0.1, and in this case it was almost half of this, 0.05 or 0.06. okay, it is almost doubled the value. And we try to see that the impedance data we try to obtain to make the equivalent circuit. So we have done this, the simulation of this, we have done it, okay. And this is the Nyquist plot that we obtained it. With that, we try to estimate the values. This is the simulated data, okay. These are the observed data, and then this is the simulated data. For this, the equivalent circuit, where RS is the solution resistance, okay. RCT is the charge transfer resistance. C is the capacity. This is the Warburg the resistance. So RS value almost the similar, you see the carbon paste electrode or the nanocomposite modified electrode, okay. RS value is almost the similar value that we will be getting. That again confirms that, okay, our whatever the design and the work we are doing, it's quite in accordance with the data. And then the CD value, it is 1.3 and all. But you see that the RCT, okay, the charge transfer resistance, this is a very important quantity. Charge transfer resistance, initially when the electrode was not modified, it was 6,342. But now, when we modified it, the nanocomposite, it has reduced almost half, 3,002. So that means that if the charge transfer resistance is much lower, more easy for this current to flow and all that, okay, the detection limit, the better detection limit that we will be getting. So this, the charge transfer resistance, that is much lowered. This is the mechanism we try to obtain, okay. This is the cyclic voltammogram. At different pH we try to obtain the data. You can see that at low pH, of course, the very high current that we'll be getting. But what is happening on the surface of the electrode? This is the surface of the electrode. You have introduced the silane molecule here. On this, there are the two possibilities by which this arsenic is attached, and then the oxidation and reduction is taking place on the surface. Either by this oxygen, okay, it is connected with silane and the arsenic is connected with this through this oxygen atom, or by the formation of the hydrogen bonding, okay, between on the surface. So either by the hydrogen bonding or by this, okay, this was confirmed also, okay, the mechanism. So concentration dependence studies, which has been further, okay, conducted. Here you can see that with increasing the concentration, the peak height, okay, this is the stripping data, okay, LSV that we obtained it, okay. So here, increasing the concentration, the peak height is going to increase, and we try to see that the current, how the concentration, this current is affected with this concentration. When you are increasing the concentration, this current is increasing linearly, okay, with that, and we have increased the concentration from 0.5 ppb to 20 ppb. This is the 0.5 ppb maximum up to the 20 ppb. So what the limit of the detection, based on that we have calculated it. What we are getting here, the limit of detection, you just try to see 0.0036 microgram per liter, which this is our present work. We try to compare with the other work. These references are not of course here, but in the published paper already there. So all this data, okay, you can see that this, our value is much lower comparing to many other studies, okay. Many other studies we try to compare it, okay. In this F-doped, okay, fluorine doped CDO electrode, in which we will be getting, they will be getting 0.0045, but ours is 0.0036 microgram per liter. So these are the interfering of the ions. You can see most of the ions are not interfering. But in the case of this green, when we are using this copper, this is the high peak current is coming. As I mentioned, that copper is a big problem. It's a big challenge for us. Okay, in presence of copper, how do we best tackle, how do we do the studies? And this is the manganese. Copper and manganese is creating the problems. Otherwise, we will be getting a very good results. Here, the real water sample, which we have collected, I think, if I remember, this was collected from the Tuang River. Okay, the the river, we have collected the sample, and then we try to conduct the studies, the various, the parameters of the Tuang River water has been given here. pH is given, conductivity, resistivity, and all that. The different, has been given here. Again, inorganic carbon is very high. Organic carbon is very, very low. That means that no organic molecule is there. But of course, the carbonates and all that likely to be there. Calcium is high. That means that carbonates are there. Calcium carbonates and all that, it is there. It is not going to affect much. Okay, and you can see that the very good correlation has been obtained. Okay, so in presence of this, the in the real matrix samples also, the method is very useful. Okay, but now when as I mentioned that we will be doing our work in association with the Korean university. So that project which we obtained, we got it from the Korean this government. So KNRF. Okay, that in that project, one aspect was there. You have to associate with the technology partner. Technology partner means you have to associate with the, what you say, that some industry. So that time the Kynal is a very famous industry there. If you Google it, so Kynal is there. So we have associated with the Kynal, and the basic data we have provided them, and then the electronics part they have done. So then based on that electronics parts, okay, they try to develop, they have prepared the sensor. So this is, you see that this is the sensor that has been developed by us. Here you can see the very small, very fine electrodes, okay, micro electrodes. This is a carbon paste based on electrode. So they have developed this electrode, and this has been used in many countries also, China and many places. This instrument that we have used, this is our own, our own product, I will say. So this is the, based on that basic studies, this electrode, sorry, this the sensor, the electronically, okay, I can say that here this is a display. On this display, using these electrode, these are the materials that we have used it, by which these electrodes are fabricated, and then we are using, and the detection what we are getting using this, the cyclic voltammetry, this detection limit is much lower than that. Ours is signal is much higher. We will be getting, say if the peak current is coming here, something, this, when we are using this instrument, it is much lower. So this instrument we have tested and we have done at many places. So with the help of this, okay, this is the final product that we obtained. Of course, this is not my property. This is the property of, because this was funded fully by the Korean government. So it is the property of that, okay, for them. This is the product that we have developed. So this is some of the pictures of my department in the Department of Chemistry. So with this, I would like to thank you for your patience and all that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for your nice presentation. And it was a very outstanding talk and about this sensor. And now people can know minimum, you can know how much he is good in the research, basically. Instead of different administrative position in our university also, he's the director of the Northeastern Science and Technology DRDO Center. He's the secretary of Northeastern Association of Science and Technology. He's the Dean of Fine Arts, and also there are different administrative positions like NRF coordinator and different. So as a teacher, as a administrator, as well as a researcher, he's outstanding. Still, I can say. So we can take some questions. If you have some question, please write in the chat box or question answer section. So we'll take care of these questions. So I'm telling to everybody that if you are asking any question, in the middle also you write in the chat box. We will take care this all question, chat box or question answer A. Then we'll take care, after this session, we'll take care the every questions. So it is a continuous, we can say continuous method. So you can give the questions anytime in the talk.
It's not core engineering.
it's a basically, sir, near about 90% people from electronics.
Yes.
And other computer science, some people are there, means specialization. That basically in our that ATOL, that in the AICT at the regulation is that we have to approve only 200 participants.
Okay.
So out of this 200, I have approved but there are many people are in. They have always called me. They have always requested me, but I have no option to give the one because it is totally in the software AICT website. I have
Okay.
no option. I have no option to include someone and delete someone.
Yes,
So
yes.
that is why we cannot do some near about 700 people near about they have applied in that case. So
Okay.
by mail also by EA also, but 200 we have approved by the basically this A sensor is basically electronics related sensor and material
Right,
related
right,
sensor.
right.
So that's why whichever is specialization in the material with the electronics, so we have accommodate and others we have rejected basically. So if you have any questions, please ask me. Sir will be there. Otherwise, sir is from our university. So you can personally also you can contact him. Sir is very helpful in this in that matter. So he will not hesitate to any question or give the answer also in the after this talk also. Okay. So okay, no question, sir. So formally, I am requesting to Lalming Gliana to give the vote of thanks to the our beloved Tiwari sir.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much, sir. We are now coming to the end of the session. I would like to thank our resource person, Professor Diwakar Tiwari, sir, for delivering informative session on electrochemical sensor. Sir, we are grateful that you have given us your valuable time despite your busy schedule. I believe all the participants would have benefited and appreciated it. Next session will start from 12:15 onwards, and I once again thank all the participants and our resource person, Professor Diwakar Tiwari, sir. So thank you one and all.